Do you wake up tired? Even after a full night of sleep, you open your eyes in the morning, but instead of feeling refreshed, your body already feels heavy, your head is foggy, your stomach feels strange, and before lunchtime, you're already craving sugar, coffee, or something sweet just to keep going. Most people think this is normal. They blame stress, they blame getting older, they blame poor sleep. Some people think they just need stronger coffee. But what if the real reason has nothing to do with your age? And almost everything to do with the way you eat. Because here's something most people never hear. In many cases, chronic fatigue, cravings, and brain fog are not caused by a medical problem. They're caused by chaotic eating. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Here we talk about real health in simple language. No miracle supplements, no expensive detox products, and no extreme diets that make your life miserable. Just practical information your body can actually use. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't have an energy problem. They have a fuel problem. Think about what a typical day of eating looks like for many people in the US, maybe a flavored yogurt or pastry in the morning, coffee with sugar, a protein bar, a sandwich or fast food lunch, chips or cookies during the afternoon, something quick for dinner. Then a late night snack. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. No structure, no system. Now imagine doing that to your car. One day you put gasoline in it, the next day diesel. Then maybe some sugary soda just for fun. It sounds ridiculous. But this is exactly how many people treat their body every single day. And then they wonder why they feel exhausted, bloated, unfocused, and constantly hungry. Your body is incredibly smart, but it cannot function well when the fuel is random. The truth is, your body does not need hundreds of trendy foods from around the world. It doesn't need expensive powders. It doesn't need superfood berries that cost $30 a bag. It doesn't need detox teas or miracle fat burners. What your body really wants is something much simpler. Consistency. It needs a stable base of foods that provide protein, fiber, healthy fats, vitamins, and slow, reliable energy. And when people switch to that kind of eating, something surprising begins to happen. Energy becomes steady instead of crashing. Sugar cravings start fading, digestion becomes calmer, your mind becomes clearer, and hunger becomes easier to control. In over 20 years of observing people struggle with fatigue, stubborn weight gain, digestive issues, and constant cravings, I've noticed one pattern again and again. The healthiest people usually eat very simple food, and the people who feel the worst often eat the most chaotic diets. Too many ultra-processed snacks, too much sugar, too little real nourishment. I remember one patient, Michael, a 42-year-old software engineer. He came to me complaining about constant fatigue, heartburn, poor sleep, and something he described as running on empty all the time. He thought he needed vitamins. He thought he needed stronger coffee. He thought something was seriously wrong with him, but instead of starting with medication, we started with food. Not a complicated diet, not keto, not fasting, not some extreme detox plan, just a simple, structured base of real foods his body could actually use. 3 weeks later, he said something I hear very often. I forgot what it feels like to have steady energy. Not a caffeine high, not a sugar rush, just steady energy. And that word matters, because real health does not feel like a spike of excitement. Real health feels stable. In this video, I'm going to show you one of the simplest nutrition systems you can use in real life. Built from affordable foods you can find in any grocery store. These foods help stabilize blood sugar, support gut bacteria, provide essential nutrients, and give your body the kind of energy it actually needs. No perfection, no food prison, just a system that works. And at the end of the video, I'll also show you a simple rule that allows you to enjoy sweets and treats without destroying your health, because healthy eating should support your life, not punish you. So let's start with the first big mistake that quietly drains people's energy every day. Most people are afraid of the wrong carbohydrates. They cut out oats, grains, and legumes. But they keep eating crackers, sweet snack bars, pastries, white bread, and ultra-processed snacks. In other words, they remove real fuel and keep the junk. Your body can survive on that for a while, but it cannot thrive on it. I call this first category of foods the foundation of energy. These foods provide slow, steady fuel that keeps your blood sugar stable and your brain functioning properly. And among the simplest options, There are 4 foods that deserve special attention. Let's start with number 4, barley. Most people ignore barley when they walk through the grocery store. Some people think it's boring, others think it's old fashioned food. But barley is actually one of the most powerful fiber rich grains you can eat. It contains beta glucans, special fibers that help support healthy cholesterol levels and feed beneficial gut bacteria. And that matters more than most people realize. Because your gut is not just a tube where food passes through, it is an entire ecosystem. Your gut bacteria influence your immune system, your metabolism, your appetite, and even your mood. When you feed those bacteria properly, they produce compounds that support the cells of your intestine and help your body function more efficiently. This is one reason people who eat more whole grains often experience more stable energy and fewer cravings. Now, let's move to number 3, old-fashioned oats. And I want to emphasize something important here. Not the sugary instant oatmeal packets. Those often behave more like dessert than breakfast. Real oats, the kind that take time to cook, work very differently. They provide slow digesting carbohydrates. Think of them like firewood. They burn slowly and steadily. Instead of creating a quick spike of energy, followed by a crash, they release energy gradually. That means fewer sugar crashes, less brain fog, and fewer desperate cravings for something sweet at 10 or 11 in the morning. I once worked with a woman named Sarah who told me something interesting. Every morning around 10:30, I feel like my brain shuts down. When we looked at her breakfast, the reason was obvious. Sweet yogurt, cookies, coffee, we changed just one meal. Oatmeal with berries and nuts. 2 weeks later, she told me, "For the first time in years, I make it to lunch without feeling exhausted." That's not magic. That's physiology. Your body is not asking for more stimulation, it's asking for better fuel. The foundation of stable energy. Now let's move to the next food that belongs in the foundation of stable energy. Number 2. Brown rice. Not white rice, not instant rice. Real brown rice. When rice is processed into white rice, most of the fiber, vitamins, and minerals are removed. What remains is mostly fast starch that raises blood sugar quickly. Brown rice is different. The outer layer of the grain remains intact, which means it still contains fiber, magnesium, manganese, and B vitamins, nutrients that play an important role in energy production and nervous system balance. Magnesium alone deserves special attention. Modern diets are surprisingly low in magnesium, and this mineral is involved in hundreds of biochemical reactions in the body. It helps regulate nerve function. It supports muscle relaxation. It helps stabilize mood and sleep. And most importantly, it plays a key role in how your cells produce energy. When magnesium levels are low, the body often begins to send strange signals. People may experience fatigue, irritability, poor sleep, muscle tension, headaches, or constant feelings of stress. It's a bit like driving a car with damaged wiring. Everything technically works, but nothing works smoothly. And this is why simple foods like brown rice can quietly support the body's energy systems, without people even realizing it. Now we arrive at number 1. If I had to choose only one grain to keep in my diet for the rest of my life, it would probably be this one. Buckwheat. Despite its name, buckwheat is not actually wheat. It's a seed, and nutritionally is one of the most impressive foods in the entire category of grains. Buckwheat contains a powerful combination of slow carbohydrates, fiber, minerals, and plant protein. But one compound inside buckwheat is especially interesting. It's called rutin. Rutin helps support the strength and flexibility of blood vessels. Think of it like reinforcement inside concrete. Without proper support, blood vessels can become fragile and less resilient over time. This is one reason people who consume foods rich in these compounds often experience better circulation and vascular health. Buckwheat also contains magnesium, iron, and essential amino acids that support metabolism and muscle function. But perhaps the most interesting effect of buckwheat is how it influences blood sugar balance. Earlier, we talked about insulin, the hormone that helps move glucose from the bloodstream into the cells. When the diet is dominated by refined sugar and ultra-processed foods, this system can become inefficient. Cells stop responding properly, and blood sugar begins to fluctuate more dramatically. But foods like buckwheat tend to release energy more slowly and help support a more stable metabolic response. In simple terms, They help the body maintain balance instead of constant spikes and crashes. And here is the key principle. You do not need to eat all these grains every single day. In fact, variety works better. One day oats, another day brown rice, another day buckwheat, maybe barley later in the week. Rotation gives the body different nutrients and keeps meals simple and flexible. But here is where many people make the second major mistake in nutrition. They build their entire diet around carbohydrates. Oats, rice, bread, pasta. But they forget about something absolutely critical. Protein. And without enough protein, the body begins to struggle in ways most people don't immediately recognize. Think about this for a moment. Your body is made of trillions of cells. Every cell needs structure. Every tissue needs repair. Every enzyme and hormone requires specific building blocks. And those building blocks come from amino acids, which come from protein. Protein is essentially the construction material of the human body. Muscles are made from it. Hormones depend on it. Enzymes require it. Immune cells rely on it. Skin, hair, nails all require protein to maintain strength and renewal. When people do not consume enough protein, the body has to make a difficult choice. It begins to break down its own tissues. Yes, that means muscle. Muscle is one of the body's largest storage sites for amino acids. So, when protein intake is too low, the body starts borrowing from its own reserves. And this often shows up as symptoms. People don't immediately connect to diet. Persistent fatigue, weakness, hair loss, slow recovery after illness, constant hunger, and one of the most common symptoms people report, uncontrollable cravings. Because when the body is missing essential nutrients, appetite signals become louder and more chaotic. But here's the good news. Getting enough protein does not require expensive steaks every day. In fact, some of the best protein sources are surprisingly simple and affordable. And in the next section, I'm going to show you 5 of the most underrated protein foods that support energy, metabolism, and long-term health. Some of them cost less than a cup of coffee, and yet they can completely transform how your body feels. Let's start with number 5, the most underrated protein foods. Let's continue. We've already talked about the foundation of energy, whole grains that stabilize blood sugar and provide steady fuel for the body. But even the best carbohydrates cannot do their job alone. Without protein, the body simply cannot rebuild itself. Think of it this way. If carbohydrates are the fuel of the body, protein is the construction material. Every cell in your body depends on it. Your muscles need it to repair themselves. Your hormones need it to function properly. Your immune system uses it to defend you from illness. Your enzymes depend on it to carry out thousands of chemical reactions every second. Without enough protein, your body starts running on borrowed resources. It begins breaking down muscle tissue to extract the amino acids it needs. That's why people who eat very little protein often feel tired, weak, and constantly hungry, even if they are eating plenty of calories. But here's the good news. You don't need expensive steaks every day to get enough protein. Some of the best protein foods are simple, affordable, and available in almost every grocery store. Let's start with number 5, peas. Most people think of peas as just a small side dish, but nutritionally, peas are surprisingly powerful. They contain plant protein, fiber, magnesium, potassium, and several important vitamins. The fiber inside peas plays another important role. It feeds beneficial bacteria in your gut. Those bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids, compounds that help support the cells of your intestine and reduce inflammation in the digestive system. When the gut is healthy, many other systems begin to improve as well. Energy levels become more stable. The immune system becomes stronger, and even skin health can improve. And perhaps the most surprising thing about peas is how affordable they are. Few protein foods provide this many nutrients at such a low cost. Now let's move to number 4. Lentils. Lentils are one of the most underrated foods in modern diets. But if you look at regions of the world where people live longer and healthier lives, such as parts of the Mediterranean, lentils are often a regular part of daily meals. Lentils contain high levels of plant protein, fiber, iron, and folate. Folate is particularly important because it helps the body produce new cells. Without enough folate, the body struggles to repair tissues and maintain proper energy levels. This is one reason people with poor diets often experience fatigue, difficulty concentrating, and general weakness. Lentils also digest slowly, which helps maintain stable blood sugar levels. Instead of rapid spikes and crashes, the body receives a more steady supply of energy. Now let's move to number 3, beans. Beans are one of the most powerful combinations of fiber, protein, and slow carbohydrates. But beans also contain something very interesting. They are rich in resistant starch. Resistant starch behaves differently from regular starch. Instead of being fully digested in the small intestine, it travels to the large intestine where it becomes food for beneficial gut bacteria. And remember what we discussed earlier. Your gut is not just part of digestion. It is closely connected to your immune system, metabolism, and even your mood. Some researchers even refer to the gut microbiome as a second brain. Yeah, when you feed it properly, the benefits extend throughout the entire body. Now we arrive at number 2. Turkey is one of the leanest and most digestible sources of animal protein. Turkey meat contains high-quality protein along with important nutrients like zinc, selenium, and B vitamins. But one amino acid inside turkey is particularly interesting: tryptophan. Tryptophan is used by the body to produce serotonin, a neurotransmitter often associated with mood and emotional balance. This is one reason a balanced meal containing protein can make people feel calm and satisfied instead of restless and hungry. Another advantage of turkey is how efficiently the body absorbs its protein. Your cells receive amino acids quickly, allowing tissues to repair and rebuild. I remember one patient, Daniel, a delivery driver in his late 40s. He told me something that many people say: "Every night I crave something sweet." We looked at his daily diet: breakfast, coffee and toast; lunch, soup; dinner, potatoes. Almost no protein. We added 2 simple changes: turkey for lunch a few times a week, and beans or lentils with dinner. 3 weeks later, he said something interesting. The sugar cravings are basically gone, because his cells were finally receiving the nutrients they needed. And now we reach number 1. Beef. When budget allows, beef can be one of the most nutrient-dense protein foods available. Beef contains highly bioavailable iron, vitamin B12, zinc, and complete protein. Vitamin B12 is especially important for the nervous system. When B12 levels are too low, people may experience fatigue, dizziness, memory problems, or tingling in the hands and feet. Iron plays another critical role. Your red blood cells carry oxygen throughout the body. Iron helps them do that job efficiently. Think of red blood cells as tiny delivery trucks, transporting oxygen to every cell. Without enough iron, those trucks can't carry their cargo properly. And when cells receive less oxygen, fatigue becomes almost unavoidable. But here is something important to understand. You do not need to eat meat every day. A balanced diet can include plant proteins several days per week, combined with animal protein when available. Beans, lentils, peas, turkey, fish, or beef in rotation can provide the body with all the amino acids it needs. But even the best balance of grains and protein will still be incomplete without another critical group of foods. Foods that help support digestion, protect blood vessels, and reduce inflammation throughout the body. And surprisingly, this is the group many people either ignore completely or eat far too little of: vegetables and healthy fats. In the next section, I'll show you one of the simplest systems for building meals using these foods, a system that makes healthy eating much easier in everyday life. Because knowing what foods are healthy is one thing, but knowing how to combine them into simple meals is what actually changes your life. Let's move to that system. How to turn this into a simple daily system. Now, the most important question: how do you turn all of this into something simple that you can actually follow every day? Because knowing about protein, fiber, and metabolism is helpful, but most people eventually ask the same question: okay, but what do I actually eat tomorrow? So let's simplify everything into one practical system. Not a strict diet, not a complicated meal plan, just a simple structure your body understands. This system has 5 basic building blocks. Once you understand them, creating balanced meals becomes surprisingly easy. 1. The energy base. Every day, choose 1 or 2 whole grains from this list: oats, brown rice, buckwheat, barley. You don't need all of them every day. Rotation works best. For example, breakfast, oatmeal with berries; lunch, buckwheat with vegetables; dinner, brown rice with protein. Your body loves variety, but it also loves consistency. And here's an important trick. Whenever you eat grains, try to combine them with protein or healthy fats. For example, oatmeal plus nuts, rice plus fish, buckwheat plus turkey. This slows digestion and helps stabilize blood sugar. Instead of energy spikes and crashes, you get steady fuel. 2. Protein. Every day include 1 or 2 sources of protein. Simple options include beans, lentils, peas, turkey, fish, eggs, beef when available. Your body constantly repairs tissues. Skin cells renew, muscles rebuild, immune cells regenerate. Without enough protein, the body begins to slow down these repair processes. And over time, that can lead to fatigue, hair thinning, weaker immunity, and slower recovery. Protein is not just food, it's maintenance for your entire body. 3. Healthy fats. Healthy fats support hormones, brain function, and cellular health. Simple sources include olive oil, nuts, seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. You don't need large amounts. Usually, a small handful of nuts or a tablespoon of oil is enough. Fats also help the body absorb important vitamins like A, D, E, and K. Without fats, those nutrients cannot be used properly. 4. Vegetables, the 4-color rule. This is one of the easiest ways to support your body. Try to include vegetables of different colors every day. Each color contains different protective compounds. For example, red, tomatoes or red peppers. Green, broccoli, spinach, kale, white. Cabbage, onions, garlic, purple or blue. Eggplant, purple cabbage. These compounds act like cellular firefighters. They help reduce oxidative stress, a process that slowly damages cells, blood vessels, and tissues over time. And here's good news. Frozen vegetables work perfectly well. In many cases, they contain just as many nutrients as fresh vegetables. 5. Fermented foods. Your gut is home to trillions of bacteria, and those bacteria play a huge role in digestion, immunity, and metabolism. To support them, add fermented foods regularly. Examples include kefir, yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi. A simple glass of kefir in the evening can be especially helpful. Many people find it supports digestion and even improves sleep because fermented foods help nourish beneficial bacteria in the gut. The 80-20 rule. Now, let's address something important. What about sweets? Because life without enjoyment is not realistic, and this is where a very simple rule works extremely well. The 80-20 rule. About 80% of your diet should come from the foods we just discussed. Whole grains, protein, vegetables, healthy fats, fermented foods. The other 20% can include treats, chocolate, cookies, desserts, snacks. You don't have to live in food prison. The key is simply making sure treats are not the foundation of your diet. They should be the decoration, not the structure. And here's something interesting. When people switch to this kind of eating pattern, something surprising often happens. After a few weeks, their cravings for sweets naturally decrease. Not because they are forcing themselves to resist, but because their cells are finally receiving the nutrients they need. What changes in the first week? People often ask, how quickly will I feel a difference? The body can adapt faster than most people expect. When cells finally receive stable fuel, the system begins adjusting quickly. During the first few days, many people notice small but important changes. Energy becomes more stable. That heavy crash after meals becomes less intense. The constant desire for sugar starts fading. Digestion becomes calmer, less bloating, less stomach noise. Then, after several days, something else often appears: mental clarity. Many people describe it the same way. It feels like someone cleaned the window in my head. Because when blood sugar is stable, the brain receives a steady supply of energy, not constant highs and lows. By the end of the first week, some people also notice they wake up more easily in the morning. Even appetite can become more controlled. And in some cases, clothes begin to feel slightly looser. Because when insulin becomes more stable, the body stops storing energy in panic mode. Instead, it begins using stored energy more efficiently. This way of eating is not a strict diet. It's simply a return to food your body understands. Whole grains, protein, vegetables, healthy fats, fermented foods, and occasional treats for enjoyment. That's the balance many healthy cultures have followed for generations. And sometimes the biggest improvements in health start with something surprisingly simple: what you put on your plate every day. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Here we talk about real health in simple language, without expensive supplements, extreme diets, or medical myths. And share this video with someone who always says, I don't know what I'm supposed to eat, because sometimes the most powerful health changes start with the simplest habits.